There is a certain type of person who does not leave the world loudly. They do not announce their exit. They do not argue or fight or demand to be understood. They simply begin to disappear, one quiet withdrawal at a time. If you have ever felt yourself pulling back from conversations, from people, from spaces that once felt normal, and could not fully explain why, this was made specifically for you. In the next few minutes, you will understand 5 psychological reasons why intelligent people withdraw from the world around them. Reasons that will not just explain the pattern, but permanently reframe the way you see it. Some of these you already sense in yourself, but have never had the words for. Others will name something you have been quietly carrying for years. And one of them, pay close attention when we get there, will explain why the disappearance is not what most people assume it is. Most people build their social lives the way they build everything else, by following the path of least resistance. They find a comfortable frequency and stay there. Familiar topics, safe distances, conversations that never go below the surface. That is not a criticism, it is simply the default setting of most human interaction. But your mind does not have a default setting. Psychologists describe this as heightened cognitive engagement, meaning your brain is constantly processing at a depth that ordinary social exchange cannot reach. It is not something you chose, it is simply how you are wired. The problem is, that wiring comes at a cost. The world was not designed for minds that need depth the way others need oxygen. And so, over time, what should be your greatest asset quietly becomes your greatest source of exhaustion. What we are about to cover will not just explain why you withdraw, it will change what that withdrawal means to you forever. Reason number 1, you stop pretending the shallow end was enough. Researchers in social psychology have a term for this surface-level tolerance fatigue. The point at which a highly analytical mind can no longer sustain the cognitive effort required to engage with conversations that offer no real return. Put simply, your brain does not switch off during small talk. It keeps running. And the gap between what it is processing and what is actually being said becomes, over time, unbearable. You know exactly what this feels like. You are at a gathering and someone is talking about something that does not matter, and you are nodding. And you are smiling, and some part of you is sitting entirely alone in a room only you can access. Not because you are arrogant, not because you think you are better, but because the conversation has nothing for you, and you are too honest to pretend otherwise. You were not built for the shallow end. You were built for the depth most people are afraid to reach. This is not a social deficiency. This is a sign that your standards for connection are simply higher than what most environments can meet. And what comes next explains why those standards carry a weight most people never see. Reason number 2, your nervous system registers what others filter out entirely. Behavioral scientists call this sensory and emotional perceptivity, an elevated sensitivity in the nervous system that registers not just what is said, but what is felt, avoided, performed, and concealed in a room. Your mind is a constant, involuntary observer of human behavior. You notice the shift in someone's tone before their expression changes. You feel the tension in a room before it becomes visible. You are reading a conversation subtext while everyone else is still on the text. You walk into a social situation and within minutes you have absorbed more emotional information than most people accumulate in an entire evening. By the time you get home, you are not just tired. You are carrying the weight of everything no one else bothered to notice. Most people leave a room with memories. You leave with an inventory of everything that was never said. This is not a sensitivity to be corrected. This is a form of intelligence that operates below the level most people can see. But here is what no one tells you about, that when your capacity to absorb is this high, withdrawal is not avoidance. It is necessary maintenance. We are halfway through, and I want to be direct with you for a moment. The first 2 reasons explain what you feel, but the next 3 explain why the disappearance deepens over time, and why, for most intelligent people, it becomes more pronounced, not less. Reason 3, in particular, names something you may have spent years blaming yourself for. You outgrew the version of yourself the world still expects to see. Psychologists describe this as identity-environment dissonance. The psychological friction that occurs when who you have genuinely become no longer matches the role the people around you have assigned to you. This is not metaphor. It is a documented source of withdrawal. When your inner world evolves faster than your external relationships can accommodate, social interaction stops feeling like connection. It starts feeling like performance. You have been in conversations recently where you said something true, something real, and watched the room go quiet in a way that told you they did not follow you there. So you learned to say less, to stay closer to the surface, to be a smaller version of yourself in order to remain tolerable to the spaces you were already in. The loneliest thing in the world is editing yourself into someone you no longer recognize just to fit a room that stopped growing. This is not resignation. This is the cost of authentic intelligence operating in a world that rewards conformity over clarity. Reason number 4. You have been solving for the wrong kind of belonging. Research in attachment psychology and social neuroscience consistently shows that highly intelligent individuals require what scientists describe as resonant connection. Not simply shared time, but a sense of being genuinely, fully understood by at least one other person. This is not a luxury. It is a biological need, and when it goes chronically unmet, the mind begins to treat social engagement as a threat rather than a resource. You may have spent years believing the problem was that you were too much, too intense, too complicated, too hard to know, that the solution was to become simpler, more palatable, easier. You were never too much. You were in the wrong rooms with people who had never been asked to hold depth before. This is not a flaw in your design. This is a navigation error, one that, once identified, becomes entirely correctable. Reason number 5. The disappearance is not failure. It is the beginning of something more precise. Behavioral scientists who study periods of voluntary social withdrawal in high-functioning individuals consistently find the same pattern. What looks from the outside like isolation is, from the inside, an act of profound self-preservation. Your nervous system is not abandoning the world, it is curating it. Think about the last time you genuinely withdrew, not dramatically quietly. You stopped accepting invitations you did not want, stopped maintaining conversations that cost more than they returned, stopped showing up in spaces where the version of you that was welcome was not really you. That was not failure. That was your intelligence finally refusing to spend itself on things unworthy of it. Disappearing from the wrong world is the first step toward building the right one. This is the reframe most people never reach. The withdrawal is not the end of your social life. It is the beginning of a more deliberate, more honest, more deeply resonant version of it. Everything we have covered today is not a list of separate problems. It is a single, coherent truth about how you are made. Your mind requires more than the world has typically offered you. And what you experienced as failure was, in every case, simply that mismatch made visible. You were never too sensitive. You were never too complicated. You were never too much of anything. You were a mind that needed depth, resonance, and honest connection in a world that handed everyone the same shallow scripts and expected you to be satisfied with yours. Once you understand this about yourself, everything changes. Not because the world becomes easier, because you stop treating your needs as flaws and start treating them as coordinates, directions toward the people, conversations, and environments that can actually hold who you are. You were not too much for the world. The world just hadn't met enough of you yet. If you have spent a long time feeling like your withdrawal was something to be ashamed of, like the disappearance made you less rather than more, I hope what you heard today gives you something solid to hold on to. Not just information, understanding. The kind that does not fade when the video ends. The kind that changes not just how you see the disappearance, but how you see the person doing the disappearing. If this resonated with you, if you recognized yourself somewhere in what we covered, subscribe, because this channel exists specifically for intelligent people who are ready to understand themselves at a depth most people never reach. Your next step is right here, a video on why highly intelligent people often feel the most alone, and what that loneliness is actually trying to tell you.